You don't choose compliance, compliance chooses you. I've always been a mind over matter type person, super motivated behind one common goal. We've started to explore how do we implement AI in kind of two facets, our day-to-day workflow, and then secondarily, the solutions that we've built. We are playing with a ton of data, tens of millions of lines of data, which previously were unable to be obviously open in Excel. As it continues to learn what we post, what we like, what we want, we may unleash it to actually build the whole content. We will.
Lucas Croteau is the founder and CEO of TracedData, helping pharma and medtech companies navigate global transparency laws through AI-powered reporting. From flipping Jordans to scaling SaaS, he's built tools that turn tens of millions of data lines into compliance-ready insight.
Just take that as a starting point. Are you doing that in an automated fashion?
We're kind of at the infancy of it, to be honest with you. But now just being able to run basic VLOOKUPs and run basic data analysis, that stuff was even 18 months ago. It's unheard of.
To be honest, AI is going to come back and haunt all of us, right? All right, everybody, welcome back to AI for Business Owners. I'm your host, Jeff Torello, and I have the pleasure of hosting Lucas today. Lucas, tell the crowd who you are and everything about you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Lucas Croteau. I'm the founder and CEO of TracedData. We're a software and services company focused in a very tiny little niche of transparency reporting for pharmaceutical and medical device orgs. So very data heavy environment that is right for AI to help empower our opportunities here.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Give me a little sort of background on you. How did you get from, where'd you start? How'd you get to where you are? What's your driving, what motivates you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think way back as a youngin, I've always been kind of a mind over matter type person. It's like somebody that just gets super motivated behind one common goal, one common mission. Back in the day, a few pounds ago, it was all, sports and basketball and hoops and all that good stuff. Did that through college. And then honestly, when I got done with college, it was kind of trying to redefine myself, figure out what I want to do, what I want to get into, what is the new Lucas? Because that had been the focus for so long. And I had kind of jumped around. I've always had an entrepreneurial background mindset, from flipping Jordans and shoes and to collecting water bottles and turning them in Maine for the 5 cents a bottle to all kinds of crazy things.
Wow.
So it's always been a very kind of entrepreneurial mindset for myself. Shortly after college, I actually got into consulting, mostly on human capital management with small tech companies.
Okay.
And that's how I was kind of introduced and started working through some connections at a company called MediSpend, which was my first tech kind of foray. They were in a similar space to what I'm operating in now, and was there for quite some time. Got pretty heavy into real estate at the same time and started kind of navigating my way into real estate tech. But we always say on the compliance side of the house here in transparency reporting, you don't choose compliance, compliance chooses you. So I did some software in the real estate world for a while. And then it just kind of organically was brought back in, and out of sheer awesomeness of the folks I get to work with, it just kind of naturally funneled back into having my own company. And I've been doing it now for 3.5 years,
Oh, cool.
TracedData, and it's been a ton of fun, and we're growing and having a good time doing it.
That's great. I like the phrasing, you don't choose compliance. I don't think
It's
anybody sets out for, I desperately need compliance in my life, right? It's so
nobody
yeah.
does.
No, it makes perfect sense. It's great.
For
Love that.
sure.
That's a great phrase. Put that on a wall. Okay.
That's it. That's it.
So tell me a little bit about your AI journey so far, and not necessarily just, it doesn't have to be personal. It can be with TracedData, but where are you in that space today at the moment?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I mean, we're kind of at the infancy of it, to be honest with you. We're starting to look in and utilize tools. We're being a small kind of services mainly shop here around transparency reporting. Um, we've started to explore how do we implement AI in kind of two facets. One is our day-to-day workflow. How can we just be more efficient in the utilization of our day-to-day activities? whether it be sales and marketing, whether it be
Sure.
data analytics, whether it be some different data processing, and then secondarily, how do we bring that into the solutions that we've built for this space? We are more advanced on the how do we optimize our day to day, and we are very strategically starting to play with and implement it into the solutions on how can we be more efficient with that. But from a day to day, it's like, I mean, you're ingrained in it, obviously. It's just ever evolving. Like
It
the
is.
amount of tools and things that are out there. Like I was just playing with one today. In this space, we are playing with a ton of data, and it's like tens of millions of lines of data, which previously were unable to be obviously open in Excel. And like that's one of the biggest challenges. But we're using like some new tools and some web-based apps that are like driven off AI that's actually allowing us to one, open the files, which like is a huge monumental victory since
Starts with
before,
open, right?
which is like right the most simple stuff. But
Right.
now just being able to run like basic VLOOKUPs and run basic data analysis through chatbots and whatever it might be. Like that stuff was even 18 months ago, it's like unheard of. Like it's an inability to
Interesting.
do. And now it's possible. And like we're being able to drive insights like super efficiently and quickly off of that. But we're doing a lot of cool things. Like how can we understand what the market's asking for? How can we analyze um, Google searches and then translate that into content and blog posts or things along those lines that we
Right.
can drive information to users that they want, not just stuff that we think they want, which is really
Uh,
cool.
Just take that as an example, just to start as a starting point. Are you doing that in an automated fashion, or are you using like Google AdSense or some version of a reporting methodology, and then sort of manually brush? How are you approaching that particular facet, that one thing?
Yeah, it's good question. So we use kind of it's pretty close to automated to an extent. We're still not kind of unleashing the full force yet. But there's a lot of Google AdSense, understanding what the search criteria is. We have N8N workflow that drives an agent to take that, then source and scour information based off of the search criteria, understand what is the most kind of frequently queried, understand what content's been already published as it relates to that. If anything hits the mark, if it doesn't hit the mark, then it basically analyzes that, creates our own content based off of that. And then it kind of comes over the desk. And that's where the automation part stops. Myself, in particular, has our own sense of humor, I guess you can say, as it relates to content and our own kind of look and feel. And we like to kind of take that content information and then, you know, cut it up into digestible chunks that we can deliver to, followers and folks in the space that are looking for information. So it's definitely a tool that we're utilizing to some level of automation to get content ideas, and then we can kind of position it the way we want to position it. But that's been really exciting.
Just to clarify for folks, one of the things you mentioned there is you have an N8N workflow. N8N.io is the vendor
Yep.
there. That workflow, obviously doing a couple different facets and sounds like some pretty cool stuff. It's generating content and then sending it to you for adjustment, approval, etc., or it's sending you, hey, here's some topics you should tackle, and then it's
Yeah.
up to you to generate. Like, what's that?
Both. So it started with topics that had come over.
Okay,
Then we started kind of, I guess, driving it a little bit further to say, hey, break this topic down into kind of digestible chunks and bullet points, and give a little bit more context as it relates to it. And that's where we've stopped so far. I then take that and will manually create some level of
okay.
deliverable from that as it continues to learn what we post, what we like, what we want. We may unleash it to actually build the whole content. We will at some point unleash it to build the whole content, but we're kind of taking it bite size. And also, it's as much for us to digest it and understand the capabilities of the workflow before we kind of fully go all in on that.
Do you have a developer who's writing that for you? Is it you that's doing? Who's doing the N8N work?
Self-taught. Yeah. I've
Self-taught.
been,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, I've
Good.
been kind of learn and grind through it. So, yep.
Well, no. So this is good because it speaks to the fact that some of this, and for the audience, N8N, Mind Studio, there are a number of them.
Yep.
Make.com, Zapier. They all have this sort of functionality where you can have an automated workflow. And it doesn't always have to just be AI, in case anyone's wondering. But
Yep.
it's what we refer to in the industry as a low-code, no-code kind of platform where you could get by making the workflow you're talking about without really writing a line of code as a developer. Now,
Yeah.
what you're actually doing is, you're clicking and setting options, and those options drive code behind the scenes. But you don't need to care about that.
Yep.
And that's what this concept of low code, no code is all about.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I find interesting, and just some feedback thoughts for you to mull over. There's nothing right or wrong in this, but just some things that I would tell you to think about. What I found, personal experience, some AIs aren't great at, hey, write me a full article, but most AIs excel at, hey, write me 2 or 3 sentences or a paragraph about X.
Yep.
What I would say to you from a thought process perspective is, if you did an interactive, say, outline with a human in the loop component. So you ask, here's your topic, here's the general thing you want to talk about. You ask the LLM in your workflow, generate an article outline around this topic, and then you see that outline and you can adjust and modify, etc.
Yep.
And you send that back. But now what you do is you have the agent, the workflow, break that outline into the pieces and then ask the AI, give me a paragraph about the first bullet. Now give me a paragraph about the second bullet. My point here is, with that smaller context, the most LLMs will give you decent material.
Yeah.
What you'll end up with is probably not the thing you want to publish, but it's probably the thing that you can quickly edit.
Yeah.
Put your flavor and your humor and your tone, etc., around.
Yep.
And now you're looking at a minute's activity instead of a half hour to an hour's worth of writing a custom article. And you already know, right? I think everybody knows, right? The more consistent you are with content, the better your result set.
Yep.
Whatever you're trying to do, the better your result set. The less time you can have to devote, the more actual content you can push. And you're not throwing out, AI slop, in quotes, which, to be honest, is going to come back and haunt all of us, because I don't think people see the full cycle loop. But let me just paint the picture, right? So initial LLMs are trained on data on the internet. And some of that data teaches the AI how to program, and it teaches it how to write English and can translate and all kinds of things. Okay, great. Then we get, the AI can generate content too. And we can take that content and we can put it through workflows and automatically shove it out the door. And so there's all these content farms that go away because now AI does that.
Yep.
Well, the future AI models are going to be trained on AI generated content. And there's just going to be this,
never ending cycle.
This cycle of, we're standing on garbage on top of garbage. And so now the answers for the LLM gives us are just not accurate because they were based on foolishness from before, etc. It's pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
Okay.
The hallucinations. There we go.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yep.
And what's really funny is a lot of the more current models have less hallucination problems than they used to have.
Yeah.
What really happened there, just a real quick aside, right? My own personal thing is, where did the hallucinations come from? Google's trained us for decades to not make full sentences, to just search by keywords. And a lot of folks had to be told in the beginning with searching, you don't have to make a whole sentence. Just put in the important words and it'll find the right thing. Well, while true, that is such the antithesis to how context works with an LLM.
Yeah.
And so the more information you give the LLM, the more prompt you give it, the better your result set by far. And so this hallucination problem initially started with the LLMs would invent, but also you weren't giving enough context because you were Google prompting the LLM, right? Just from training without even knowing. We were all doing it. And as people learn the art of prompt engineering and what is now being turned into context engineering, because really the key to all the LLM interactions is context. And part of why I was telling you to break things down is you keep the context window pretty small with, here's the topic I want you to write about. Give me 2 or 3 sentences.
Yeah,
It
makes
can do
sense.
that.
Yep.
When you ask it to write a 20-page paper,
Yeah, different story. Yep.
it's going to hallucinate because it's got nowhere else to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So sorry, we diverged a little bit on your automation there, but the whole point is I think you can get that to be a little bit more useful to you.
Yep.
And probably save you a little more time.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance. So like you're spot on, and that's where we're kind of going to. I think there's a couple of components to it, and maybe it's good for your listeners to hear too. Like I'm a business person. I'm not super technical. You know, I'm one of these folks that can understand technical concepts and communicate them back to a non-technical person in ways that they comprehend. But I am not writing code. I'm not able to go in there debug a software. That's not my expertise or my capabilities at all.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
with that, learning an N8N, a make, et cetera, has certainly been a little bit of a trial and error. You know, it's been a practice. It's totally doable. I've done it. I've done it in several kind of fashions to this date. Have a couple agents going. So it's definitely something that a non-technical person can accomplish. But it's also something that I've tried to take a little slower. One, just from a time perspective, but two, also, you know, and probably like many, it's trying to understand how much and how little do I want to, empower AI. There's certainly some of the, yeah, I guess probably intrinsic fear factor as it relates to it as well, but also the exciting component of what it can do. So I'm kind of slowly but surely identifying new use cases. I've done a pretty good job of really trying to articulate what I'm doing, building out the steps that I do, so then I could work to translate it and correlate it into an AI agent doing some of that. For me, to date, it's been mostly off of I'll call it business operations functions. So yeah, some of the sales and marketing stuff. But what I'm really super excited about is how can I do some of this with some of the data heavy work that we process as we bring in this data in from from our clients and stuff, and how can we optimize that process as well, which I think will be super efficient for them as well as for us.
Yeah. Okay. And we can talk about a couple of those things from a data perspective. There's some options to at least explore. I like your comments. I wanted to give you some feedback, and I think that I applaud the way you're going about the approach that you're taking. I really think, it depends. Everybody's different, right? Everybody has different shirts they wear, different cars they drive. Everybody's got their
Sure.
opinions, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. But you don't have to be super technical in order to take advantage of some of this functionality.
Absolutely.
You also may be like, I don't even want to delve into that. Like some folks have Best Buy hook up their TV. I mean, it's just,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
It's all flavors. Okay, fine. Not everybody needs a consultant. It's just not the case.
Absolutely.
What I find intriguing about your approach, there are certainly things you can do with no necessarily, I don't want to call you non-skilled. I don't mean that, right? But
Yeah, no,
without
absolutely.
being a computer programmer,
Yep.
you don't need to be to do a certain level of stuff. But the other thing I think you'll gain is an understanding of, yeah, that's not going to be me, right? You'll
Yep.
know where that threshold is, so you won't waste time.
Absolutely.
You'll say, I can do all these things, but that one, it's not going to, it'll take forever for me to learn. I'm hiring that out. And that's a
Yep.
really powerful thing. In forget AI consulting. In the world of business, the ability to say, that's going to be too costly for me to try on my own. I have to go get that. The build versus buy decision exists everywhere, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you bring on a person to help you as an assistant, or do you just struggle with your current workload because it's cheaper?
Yep.
It has nothing to do with AI, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah,
Absolutely.
an AI can be an assistant. Fine. But like that decision-making process is better informed when you've done some hands-on yourself, like you're doing,
Yep.
and you can say, oh, that's easy. That's not easy. And right. So now you have a really good decision maker skill set, right?
Yeah.
So let's dive in a little bit about data. You referenced previously that the data is kind of large. Okay, give me and don't divulge proprietary stuff, of course, but like give me a simple overview of we have a data set. It has these kind of elements. This is what we need to do.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things. Like right now, maybe I'll just give an overview of kind of what transparency reporting is for folks that don't know exist, because obviously it is kind of cool for those that aren't aware of it. But basically, there's laws across the world and that require pharmaceutical and medical device companies to publish these reports outlining anytime they've paid a doctor. So if they pay a doctor for consulting purposes, or maybe they just take them out to lunch to educate them on a new device that's come to market and why they think it's good for this person to know that this knee brace exists, right? All normal course of business, all good stuff. Where we want our doctors informed on all the stuff that's out there, normal business practice. These countries, in the United States is one of them, has laws that that's great. Do business as you do it, but we want to disclose this to consumers, right? To you and I, that hey, my doctor has met with this pharmaceutical company, and every year we must publish those transfers of value, those payments made from whether indirect or direct payments to these healthcare professionals. So we help these companies do that by basically aggregating all this information across the business, payments from their finance systems for consulting fees, payments from what's called a T&E system, if you're not familiar with that, which is your employee expense system. So, that sales rep takes somebody out, and some other areas across the business. We take that data in, we currently put it into a tool. It runs it through some algorithms and creates a report, right? It supplements data with all these lists that the government provides, et cetera. Some of the biggest challenges with that are the normal human error, right? That data that comes to us, if it's listed as being relating to an HCP, fine, easy, right? We know that. If they provide what's called the MPI, which is like the doctor's social security number, easy. We can do lookups to these other
Right.
data sets, get the information. Where it becomes more complicated, where some of the compliance risk is the inappropriate labeled or mislabeled transactions that were like, hey, this is John Smith. How do we know if this is a doctor or not? So the majority of the time that goes unreported. What's really interesting with what AI can do now is like it could analyze previously reported stuff to say, hey, you have a John Smith here, and you're saying he's in California, and you have a John Smith that you reported last year who was located in California. I know this isn't listed as an HCP, but let's at least flag it and let you tell us that it is or isn't. So some of that kind of proactive stuff that it's really just almost impossible to do right now is becoming possible.
Sure.
And
Okay.
that's the exciting stuff that we'll probably start working toward, identify more proactively versus just somebody manually looking at a file. Because if I see John Smith, I have no way to say that could potentially be an HCP until you can tie it to the totality of your data, other data submitted. Maybe you get a match on a city and a state from somebody else that submitted data last year, and you can start tying those loose ends up. And then ultimately that goes upstream, and then you can correct the source, and you don't
Yeah.
have to worry about that again. But that's some of the interesting stuff.
How deep are you thinking you're going to go there?
Yeah, it's a good question. It depends honestly on how deep we get into the space. Like we've really been very focused on like the mid to small size companies because it's such a niche space. There are some other solution providers in the space that honestly are fantastic. They have great software. We're not here to really replace them. We're here to tap a market that I don't think has access to those because a lot of those softwares are very expensive. So our tools that we provide and our services we provide really meet that mid to lower market. So we're doing a really good job there. But honestly, I think it's a potential opportunity for a new product to come to market, potentially to help augment and supplement. We've been really blessed, honestly, Jeff. Like we've grown super organically. I have, I think we talked about it before as well. Like I have zero, almost zero outbound sales that happens. I do, you know, content on LinkedIn and referrals. Like that's where all the business has been coming in, which is obviously great. But as we expand and as the needs of our clients expand and as they approach us to help be kind of that partner, yeah, I mean, I think all of it's on the table. So.
Just a couple thoughts that flew by as you were explaining, and I just want to share them as things for you to maybe write down to play with in the future. Right? There's a whole business out there known as enrichment, right? That can take elements, data elements, and try to merge them into an actual person or business. That's one thing, depending on the T&E details that you have access to. If you have expense reports and receipts, you can find the data on the receipts. And just a simple thought process, right? There's a bigger algorithm that you would have to come up with here, but you want to search within a 60-mile radius of the zip code of that restaurant and find John Smith practitioners and go, hey, here's 4 possibles that maybe this is a medical
Yeah.
provider,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
To help you back into, if I do enrichment, do I get a hit on any one of those 4? Because
Yeah.
if I do, then okay, and now I have 2 elements pointing at this might be right. And that
Yep.
what you're looking at is, can you close those unreported gaps for your customers where you could probably provide more value to them? I know I'm telling you things you probably already
Yeah.
have in your head, but like
No,
there's some tooling that can get you there.
you're spot on. And like, there's a very interesting play that we've always flirted around with as well, like the data side. So there's a lot of these data lists that exist, and some of it's publicly provided, like the government provides, a list of practitioners. It's 5, 7, 12 million lines long. Um, but then there's all the state lists and everything. So there's been a lot of thoughts about like, how do we get into the game of building and enriching a master data set that all these companies can ingrain in their data lakes or data warehouses and do some of that. I think some of that data stewardship that's being done manually right now is ripe for the taking. But yeah, it's an interesting problem. I'll call it phase 2 for us, but it's definitely on the radar. Like in and seeing how the expansion of AI allows some of that to be possible is pretty exciting.
There's some interesting tools I'd put on your list just to explore.
Yeah,
Uh,
please.
there's a good company out there called Llama Cloud. That's their name.
Okay.
But they produce Llama Index, Llama
I'm gonna
Parse.
note these down, Jeff.
Yeah,
So,
they're all in the same. If you just search Llama Index, you'll find the rest of these. So,
yep.
and Llama has 2 L's. It's just a very complicated word.
Yep.
But they have a really interesting tool called LlamaParse, and they have another tool called Llama Extract. And what you can do, a LlamaParse can consume just about any document type you can come up with. Also can consume audio. So like you can send it an MP3 or MP4 and it can send you back a transcript,
Yep. Very cool.
right? Lots of things that can do transcribing, just letting you know that. But in this particular case, you can also send it a PowerPoint and it can bring back words. You can send it a Word doc and it can bring back, etc. But these are integrated directly with AI. So what you can do with this is you could make like a Llama Extract template for a receipt. And then as you see a receipt, you throw it at your Llama Extract template. And this is all code, right? This is not super complicated. And it brings back to you elements that say, location, zip code, price, whatever. Those now become elements that you can give the LLM. Hey, by the way, here's the receipt and here's the location and here's the zip code. And now here's a tool that does zip code lookups in your LLM, like, and on and on. You can just stack this stuff, and it's relatively, I'm making it easy for conversation purposes. It's relatively easy to get there. So building that tool doesn't require anywhere near as much original software development as it would have 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And honestly, that's the exciting part is, some of the challenging part too is there is so much exciting tools being created and new applications that integrate with each other or ways that you can kind of ingrain them in your business. It's not as easy to know they exist because there's so many
Right.
out there. Like I haven't heard of Llama yet.
Right.
But I'm sure there's a dozen others that are similar or do some sort of other component to it. So it's starting to really get involved in the AI space. Like it's super exciting just to see all the new stuff that comes out that you can use, but it's hard to keep track of it all.
No, it totally is. And I look, as a running a consulting company, I can tell you it is hard to keep track. I will let you in on a couple secrets. Number one, I have many end-to-end workflows. A lot of them are to keep me up to date.
Yeah.
All right. They're not all doing amazing work for customers.
Yep.
A bunch of them are pumping data into my Slack channels so I can know about new tools and
Yep.
what's the latest, et cetera, and
Yeah,
new
absolutely.
releases of models and all that. Not everybody needs that level of detail, but the point is, keeping on top of it is work.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
What's a problem? We've talked about a thing that you think you're going to head towards in a phase 2. What's a problem that you would like to solve, but you're not sure AI can solve? Like, what's something that you're like, I don't think it can do anything there?
Yeah, it's a good question. I also have to ponder. I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm not sure there's stuff that it can't do yet. I've been pretty, I honestly haven't really even thought about that too much. Like I've been pretty focused on like, can I outline the stuff that I know it can do that I'm doing and get it into a process that I feel like I could potentially replicate. But I'm still a little bit on the apprehensive side on it owning a full like SDR desk, like somebody that's able to actually, find leads, build outreach campaigns and strategies to attract the lead. When the leads, attracted, actually communicate with them, answer their questions, and close the deal, all without human interaction. I see a ton of these tools. I mean, as you can tell, a lot of my AI focus has been on, sales and marketing to this
Right.
point. But
Right.
but I see some folks talking about how they had an agent built that literally did it all and did a demo of the application, and closed the deal, went through contract and everything. I'm not saying it's not possible. I think in this space it'd be really, really challenging to do
You know,
that. But
I have some useful data to share with you there. You got to be careful of the material posted on LinkedIn because it's material posted on LinkedIn, right? And anybody can build a demo and make a video and put it on the thing. Here's what I'll tell you is sort of key for me, right? In the world of business development, the problem isn't sending the messages or responding to the messages, right? Look, I can tell you 100% for a fact. I could give everybody listening a voice AI that could respond to an inbound phone call and have a complete conversation with your customer. And other than potentially a little delay, your customer would be pretty content with the information because in the way that you type and talk to whatever, ChatGPT, doesn't matter.
sure, yep,
Just turn it into voice, but it's the same. They hear what you say, they respond, right? That's not the problem. The problem, and everyone who does business development knows the problem, is getting someone to respond.
100%,
And
100%.
every single person who has a LinkedIn account is inundated with BS on LinkedIn they don't want. And I don't just mean in the feed. We're
Yeah,
all
no,
getting, hey, Jeff, nice to meet you. We connect. We're in the same space. Go get away. You're right. You're not if you're real, fine. I'm sorry you're sending messages.
yeah,
B, it's not going to work. I'm not going to respond because we're all inundated.
yep.
And, cold outreach email, it's not working. Do you respond? I don't respond. No one responds to them, right? So, phone calls. My phone doesn't take phone calls from numbers I don't know because I just too many phone calls, right? So, like, that's the problem is that we've flooded the whole system, right? So, and I'm not trying to put you down. I'm trying to get you to think it through this way. It's not the agent part that's hard.
Honestly, it's that's the sole reason why we haven't automated anything. I don't, and that's the sole reason why I started off the call saying we don't do any outbound. 98% of our
Right.
business is inbound from content we've posted, or from referrals. And I'm not upset with that, honestly.
Okay.
We flirt
It's
around like,
wise
how do
because
we,
it's good.
yeah, we flirted around with like, how can we get the message out more? How can we, but being in such a niche space, we know everybody in the space. We know every single company that could potentially utilize our services. The number's small. It's under 2,000 companies. So it's not like it's a spray and pray
Yeah, it's a
technique. Like,
relatively
we,
defined market.
yeah, and we've, to this point, I've been super, super targeted and transparent with that, through content and everything as well. And And the one thing I will say, which is a little inefficient, there's a few things I'm okay with on the inefficiency side is if I send a message, it's 100% coming from me. There is no AI, there is no rewriting of it. It is 100% directly from me. Emails, LinkedIn messages, whatever it might be. And honestly, I'm okay with that to this point. Like I don't send a ton of them. And to me, I think there's still that component of the personal nature makes sense. But yeah, so we'll see. But that's an interesting one that I just see, scattered around that people are trying to get rid of altogether. And you're spot on. It's not the steps, it's the responses that's impossible at this point.
Right. And what you're talking about, I frame it a particular way. It's, my words, I use whatever, but there's no right or wrong. But I look at this as push versus pull. Okay. Push is I try to reach out.
Yep.
Pull is effectively the art of referral. I make myself available and visible, right?
Yep.
And by osmosis, by referral, by whatever, by word of,
Yeah.
whatever, people come to me, which is what you're experiencing and is what you're doing, right?
Yep.
So then what that tells me from a perspective, and that you're already here, is you change your development process from let me reach out to let me put us out everywhere I can, let me get consistent content generation and visibility. And then when people are looking, they will see me as one of the choices in the sea.
Yep.
And then they can call at their leisure. And that, there are a whole bunch of folks like, no, make them call. Like, yes, I hear you. Thank you. And usually that's, a VC or a CEO who's like, no, do hard work, make it happen.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I'm sure there's different methodologies, the PLGs and all this stuff, like on how you want to do it. And if your market's a massive market, you can obviously change that. But I'm probably one of those delusional founders too that says this, so bear with me. But like, I feel like the market I'm in is it's a unique market. It's a very relationship driven personal market. Like it's very, very small. It's like a niche subset of a niche market. And it doesn't work the way a consumer app does or something like that. Like it really is personality driven. And that's kind of a core approach that I've taken at least.
I think it makes perfect sense. So like I said, I am a fan of pull personally, right? Because I've just been so fed up with push. What happens is even if the message is right, it's a turnoff because of the approach.
100%.
And I'm like,
Yep.
Yep, no, not doing it.
Yep. 100%. So our outbound stuff's like, not to give away secret sauce here, if anybody in the competitive landscape is listening, but like the only outbound we do is what I call thoughtful, helpful outbound. Kind of a silly moniker, but it's like, for example, the data that was just published by the government, it gets published every year. We, as part of our process and tool, we have like some algorithms that we put our data through before we'd submit it that does analysis of the information, and it triggers what could potentially be compliance risks or concerns, like things that we always talk about just go with the flow of traffic, right? Things that are going to be, hey, you look like a car going 120 miles an hour. That's the stuff that you at least want to have some documentation around. Well, why is this like this? In case somebody comes knocking to audit you, or resolve it before you ever submit it. So we'll run all that data that was just published through all of our algorithms that we kind of built based off of discussions with clients on what are compliance concerns. And we'll get an output of, hey, these are kind of red flag transactions. Like these are outside of the norm, the kind of 0.01% of transactions in the space.
Right.
And we'll send that to companies. We'll just say, hey, FYI, like just want to give you a heads up. We do a compliance analysis. This is something we triggered. You may want to look at it and get it resolved before it potentially turns into something. That's the only type of outbound we do is like this, that helpful, thoughtful. No call for action. I don't want you to get on a call for me to show you what it is. Like, here it is. This is what we found. Take a peek at it. If you have questions, certainly let me know. But other than that, we'll leave you alone. We're not going to follow up. We're not going to do any of that. That's to the extent that's our outbound.
From my point of view, I did a little bit of LinkedIn outbound last year. to see if I could garner some interest in, in AI consulting, et cetera. And it didn't really turn out to be super useful, again, because everybody's inundated. I never really liked the idea, but I thought it was worth trying because
Yep.
it
I
seems
tried it.
right.
Yep.
Every message I get on LinkedIn, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what's happening there. There's a cadence.
Yep.
And so, here's the next message is going to come in a week and it's going to say this. And
I started using, shout out to another New Hampshire company. I started using a company called Pitchfire, which basically anytime I get outbound communication to me, they have a plugin. I click the little fire icon. It's a little pitch fire, and it basically cancels their cadence because 90% of cadences are based off until you respond.
right.
So it kind of takes you out of the cadence. But it also sends a link that says, "Hey, if you've actually done your due diligence, whatever the link says," but this is my interpretation of the link. Basically says, "Hey, if you've done your due diligence and you think that I'm actually a fit for your services or solutions or whatever you're providing, then put your money where your mouth is. 25 bucks, I'll get on a call with you, or I'll at least answer your pitch or whatever." So I basically said, "Hey, anybody that's willing to spend money, they've done their due diligence, I'll get on a call with them." So I probably take 6 or 8 calls a year. And it's 25 bucks. I never even accept the money. I say, "I'm good. I don't need it." But I've bought 2 vendors off of that because they did their due diligence, et cetera. But
Interesting.
that's something that I found, a company that's been interesting to help kind of cut through the noise, eliminate some of the nonstop emails and messages, is just throwing them right away to that Pitchfire link. So throw in your
Pretty
arsenal.
cool. No, that's great. I'm glad. Hopefully, the audience can take advantage of that if it's useful to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lucas, we're getting close on time. I actually enjoyed our conversation. I thought there was some cool stuff in there. Did you find anything interesting? Did you learn anything?
Yeah, man. No, honestly, I think just being able to have conversations with folks in this space. I mean, this is just a evolving very quickly world. Like I'm just pro having these types of discussions, expanding the network. I think the more you can talk to folks, the more you can learn from. You provide some good insights and advice. I'm super excited to look up Llama and some of the tools they have there as
Good.
well. But
Good.
yeah, no, this is fantastic, and I would echo that to anybody. Like, have conversations. Nobody's too busy to have a conversation, a new conversation once or twice a week, and you'll be surprised what that kind of brings to the table.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I've run my whole life from the perspective of I can learn something from everybody. So talk to anyone. Talk to anyone. And you may not know what you're going to learn, but that's the fun, right?
And it's funny. And again, I try to be transparent, through some of my content. But one of my recent posts I put on LinkedIn, you might find a kick out of here, was I posted I had somebody reach out to me in my space. They know I'm pretty well connected in this space, and said, "Hey, we're looking to hire somebody full time. We know you have a pretty big network. Any chance you could, post this, see if anybody's interested?
Yeah.
We're having a hard time finding folks." No problem. Absolutely. Good friend of mine. I've worked with him for many years. Happy to help out. So I put a job posting and say, "Hey, this company's hiring for this. Here's the link to it. If you have questions, you need an introduction, let me know. Happy to be a matchmaker, help wherever I can." So let's say I got 15 people that reached out to me directly, saying, "Hey, I saw the job. This is great. Some already applied, whatever." Um, of that 15, it's like 10 that I've had conversations with. I've interacted with before. Cool, great. 5 of them I've reached out to several times for a million different reasons, whatever, never responded, ghosted, whatever. But now that they're in need, they reach out to me and I help them. I had a conversation. I'm happy to do so. But I think folks should just think about that. It's convenient to reach out when you need something. Do it before you need something. It's a lot easier to reach out after you've had just normal conversations.
I would agree. And I'll just expand on your comment. I agree. The idea of a network is you have contacts you didn't know you needed until you need them. And the only way to have contacts you didn't know you needed is to have contacts, and it's going to sound like an idiot, that you didn't know you needed. And so you need to talk to just what you're saying, right? Talk to whoever you can. Talk to don't run around trying to talk to everybody at the coffee shop. Nobody wants to talk to you. Go away, dude.
Absolutely.
But
you got to pick and choose,
be
obviously,
open.
But
But be open. If there's an opportunity there, take it, because
100%.
you never know. And they don't have to be lifelong friends you're going to send Christmas cards to forever. It could just
100%.
be a cool acquaintance. and they happen to be in a space, and someday you're like, oh, wait.
Yep. That's it. That's
And
the game.
that's your point.
That's the game.
So
If I could give one bit of advice, it's take at least one new phone call a week. Spend 10 minutes, talk to somebody new. Obviously be choosy, right? Have somebody that's
Sure.
in your general space, whatever. Don't just take a call with a random, outreach. I get it. But if they're in your space, you share some connections, do it. So you never know.
All
when they'll
right,
come back and
everybody.
help
That's the end of the podcast. You heard it. Lucas said,
you.
talk to people.
That's it. That's it. Victory. So.
All right. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. That was great. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll see you in the next one.